coach for community rugby players in the 2023-24 season. Let's hear now from the lead author of the report, Hamish Gornall, and also with us is the former rugby union player and coach, Peter Wright. So Hamish, tell us what you found first of all.
Yeah, good afternoon. We found some really encouraging results from the first sort of year of analysing the low variation. Some big changes that we saw was an increase in players entering the tackle in a bent waist position, which is exactly what the aim of the low variation was. And as a result of that, we saw sort of less contact, the sort of upper body and that head-neck area. And then overall, we saw a 45% reduction in head-on-head collisions. So really positive outcomes from that first year evaluation.
Yeah, so Peter, do you think this could be quite important for the sport?
Yeah, definitely. When it came in a couple of years ago, we as coaches were told that, I suppose just the attitude of players would have to change as well as the technique. Everybody goes for the big hits to try and do that macho thing. But what we were doing as coaches is try to coach the guys just to tackle lower. And then the referees came in and they penalised high tackling, which made it even more important for us as coaches and the players to tackle lower. I've noticed a massive difference, and certainly in this season compared to last season, how many head knocks we've had, how many penalties are given for higher tackles have been reduced massively. So yeah, it's real positive for the amateur game.
Right, yeah, so did you find, Peter, then it kind of worked quite well? Because I suppose in the, when you're in the heat of a rugby game, whether it's being played in a massive stadium or maybe in a community game, presumably it can be difficult to tackle in the right way.
Yeah, one of the hardest things to do is to change people's habits, and it's the same in rugby. You change bad habits in particular, which is what a lot of the players had. But what was really good was right at the start of last season, the referees were very, very strict. So in the first couple of games, you were maybe getting, 15, 16 penalties in the game for high tackles. But as the season went on, that reduced because players were starting to take on board. The match officials were being really, really hard on it initially, giving guys, not big sanctions, but giving penalties. And just because the referees didn't change their minds, it meant the players had to change, and the majority of them did, and coaches as well. A lot of coaches kind of looked at it initially and thought, this will never work. If we make them tackle too low, we're going to end up then hitting the hip bones, and so we're going to even have as many head knocks, but that's not happened. And I think we're heading in that right there. There's still head knocks, absolutely. You sometimes get caught unawares, and you do get your technique wrong, but players are very much more aware of their tackle technique now.
So Hamish, you used video analysis to carry out this research, so just tell us a bit more about how that worked.
Yeah, so we took video from sort of the season before the low variation and then the season afterwards, and then we looked at over 18,000 tackles in total, which was a huge amount of work from the team here in Edinburgh, and we compared the two seasons to one another, and then that allowed us to sort of assess the player behaviour as well as sort of the outcome of the tackle event as well across these two seasons.
And what are you hoping comes out of it then, Hamish?
Yeah, so I mean, encouragingly, it was sort of a 2-year trial period that the Scottish Rugby Union took on for the low variation, and then there's not just us in Scotland that have looked into this, but there's 11 unions across the world that have also been involved in this, what is a massive world rugby trial. So hopefully we can bring all that evidence together from all these different countries, and then it can advise, obviously, Scottish Rugby and world rugby as to what to do next and how to progress. But it certainly looks very encouraging from the first year of analysis.
And Peter, is the game of rugby itself, I mean, the people that play in it and run it always quite open to these kind of changes?
I think it's mixed. I mean, change management is a big problem for a lot of people. They don't like change, and that's no different in the rugby world. But I think when people see the benefits mentally and physically, how it can help, you think of the injuries that some of the guys get. We had a lot of guys missing rugby through concussion. But that's been really reduced because of the tackle technique. So anything that reduces any contact with that head, because we ultimately don't know 100% sure how much damage it's doing, but what we do know is that it's doing something. So we've got to make sure we make it and it's got to be fun. Players have got to be able to have fun. So if you get their tackle technique, if you coach them properly, so they're doing things in the right way, they're having fun because they're playing more rugby, they're not out injured with head knocks and shoulder knocks and whatever. So I think we're going in the right direction.
And do you think, Peter, that there's more to be done then in terms of maybe other injuries that are caused in rugby, or do you think you always have to sort of be aware of the fact that, if you make too many changes, it kind of perhaps starts not to be like rugby anymore?
Yeah, first and foremost, we've always got to remember that rugby is a collision sport, and I've always argued as a player and as a coach that we've got to be coached in the right manner. Players have got to be coached properly, and I often argue that one of the problems we have is we've got great coaches at the top end of the game, but actually maybe where we need our best coaches is down at the age grade level, at under 16s and under 18s, to teach the kids who are coming into the adult game the proper technique, the proper way to do things, and then once they get into the adult world, they've got that technique there, and it reduces the chances of injury.
Okay, well, thank you very much, both of you, for chatting to me on the programme today. Hamish Gorno there, and the former rugby union player and coach, Peter Wright, as well.
Last time in the Europa League.
Here goes Yandas, over the bar! Rangers go through to the Europa League quarter-finals! Look at the scenes in here. Some of these Fenerbahce players were very, very good. The Rangers found a way.
European football lives here.
And they will face Ettrick Bilbao for a place in the semi-finals.
Catch the first leg live from Ibrox.
Rangers in the Europa League.
This is where they come to life for sure.
Thursday from 6.
And Fernie rolls it home.
Listen on digital radio or ask your smart speaker to play BBC Radio Scotland Extra.
Okay, nurses, midwives and healthcare staff here have been offered an 8% pay increase over 2 years. The government says that will make sure that healthcare staff remain the best paid in the UK, and say it guarantees the increase will be 1 percentage point above inflation. Let's speak to Colin Pullman, who's with the RCA Nursing Union. So Colin, what is this offer then that's been given to you?
Well, the offer that's been made to our and others members is 4.25% in the first year, then 3.75% in the second year. But as you said in your introduction, what's different from this year's offer is that we have what's called an inflation guarantee, which means that if inflation was to climb, our members would receive 1% above CPI, which is obviously something that will help guard against the volatility that we're seeing in, for example, the financial markets at the moment.
What do you make of this pay deal then? Do you think it's something that nurses will accept?
I actually think it'll be quite close. Our members are under incredible pressure at the moment, and their trust in the government isn't hugely there, as there has been issues around about, for example, the reduction in the working week that was promised to happen in a gradual way, which has been delayed until next year.